Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Everything Cyber. In this episode, we have a very special guest, Thomas Rokia, who's the driving force behind the amazing Unprotect Project. The Unprotect Project is an invaluable resource to us as threat intelligence experts, red teamers, and many others who are looking to be a step ahead of the game. With its extensive database of evasion techniques, complete with code snippets and detection rules, the Unprotect Project is revolutionizing the way we as cybersecurity professionals understand threats. So in this episode, Thomas will be showcasing the project, demonstrating its remarkable features, and how you can leverage this to up your cybersecurity game. So without further ado, let's dive in and explore this episode. And be sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode.
Hello and welcome back, everyone, again to another episode of Everything Cyber. Apologies for the break. Myself and Surya, we went on a vacation because we needed some downtime and to recharge. I myself went to Japan. It was fantastic. Surya, what about you?
I had the chance to go to RSA in SF, which is very nice. Thanks, Microsoft and Fortian, for supporting me in this endeavor.
That sounded like a paid promotion. Well, all good. I'll take it. A trip to US is nonetheless. But yeah, we are back with a bang because today we have an epic lineup, an all Melbourne lineup. And with us, we have Thomas from Microsoft. And Thomas, I'll hand it over to you to give an introduction of yourself.
Yes, thanks, Kay, for the invitation. I'm super happy to be there and to share some of my work. So my name is Thomas Rocha. I'm working as a senior security researcher at Microsoft, and I've been relocated last year from France to beautiful Australia. So I'm super happy to be here today and to share some of the work I'm doing.
So Thomas, do you want to talk a bit about your background on how you came into threat intelligence?
Sure. So I've been working in the cybersecurity field for more than a decade now, and I've been working in different roles, such as system administrator and system and security administrator, working with a CISO in a French bank and public sectors and so on. And then I moved to McAfee in 2015 as a security consultant, where I was doing incident response, penetration testing for customer outbreak. I spent 3 years in the professional services, traveling around the world for major outbreaks and customers' needs about security. And then after three years in professional services, I moved to the McAfee labs, where I was mainly working on threat intelligence, tracking threat actors, and understanding the threat landscape as a whole. So yeah, I've been, I think I've been working in threat intelligence since quite some times. But even when I was doing incident response and customer services and so on, there were a part where threat intelligence was really important as well, because when you work on a specific incident response, it's really important as well to understand what's going on, where the attack is coming from, what kind of actors is beyond this attack, and so on. So yeah, quite sometimes right now, and since then I've been working on major outbreaks, such as, to name a few, the NotPetya case, also the Olympic destroyers and so on. So yeah, many cases so far.
Fantastic. Thomas, this is a question I always like to ask all threat intelligence folks, that what's your favorite ATP or attacker group, if you have any, or which one did you enjoy working with the most? Working against the most, not with the most.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if I have a favorite APT. I'm just passionate about the field, and I like to understand the threat landscape as a whole. So there is obviously some threat actors that are more sophisticated, or more. There is some attacks that are more sophisticated than others. I think that's the one I prefer the most. Like, for example, if we talk about supply chain attack, which is very on fire these times. I think it's really interesting because it's a stealthy case, a stealthy attack, which is very difficult to uncover and to analyze. So this kind of attacks is very interesting. But apart from that, I mean, I'm just interesting as a whole in threat intelligence, and every threat actors can bring you to the table something very interesting to learn and to understand.
I just realized not all of our audience might know what is a APT. So Surya or Thomas, can you quickly explain what that is in your own words?
Sure. So APT stands for Advanced Persistent Threats. So it used to be used for nation state attackers at some point, but I think today it's not really only used for defining nation state attackers. It can really be used for defining a sophisticated attacker. So yeah, APT means today something that like an advanced persistent threat mean an attacker that will have some sophisticated operations to breach you and some operating methods that are a bit advanced compared to what we compared to previous attacks than we used to see like maybe 10 years ago. But yeah, I think APT also can be used either for nation state attackers, but also for cybercrime campaigns, because cybercrime activities today is very well organized and quite similar to nations. I mean, in the operating methods, quite similar to APT as we used to see before.
Awesome. So yeah, do you have anything to add on that?
Just for people who go up searching on APTs, you might see different names being used across different vendors, whether it be Mandiant, CrowdStrike, or others. And usually these APT names, you might end up seeing like, hey, these two APTs, I'm checking in different vendors, but they're using the very similar techniques. They're actually the same. It's just that different vendors prefer to use different names. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
if things weren't confusing enough already. Let's focus on to the heart of today's episode, the Unprotect Project. Now, I know this is a brainchild of yours that you've been working for a while, and it is immensely impactful for the community. With that, let's unravel the curtains on the Unprotect Project. And would you like to share what it is and why is it so useful?
Sure. So the Unprotect project is basically a full classification and database about malware evasion techniques. I started this project in 2015. At that time, I was working as a security consultant, working on incident response, going to customer site across the world for outbreaks and cyber attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the times when I went on site, I had a lot of questions from the customers, such as why the antivirus didn't detect this piece of malware, or why this sandbox didn't really analyze the samples that we sent to the sandbox, or why this one is not detected or is bypassing all the measures in place. So I started to document the evasion techniques. And the initial goal was to provide that information to the customers I was working on to help them improve the security measures and the security postures, such as, for example, if they have a sandbox, how to harden the sandbox to avoid detection by a specific malware, or how to bypass the measures a malware can use to avoid reverse engineering or detection and so on. So the initial step of this project was basically an Excel sheet with just some categories and columns and rows, and it was very basic. And I started to, create this classification. And at that time, the MITRE attack matrix wasn't as it is today, and so the defense evasion section wasn't super helpful or not complete. Even today, it's not complete because it's very complicated to classify everything. But the goal of the Unprotect project was basically to extend the defense evasion section from the MITRE attack matrix and propose additional classification, really focus on malware evasion. So we started that, and it started with a simple Excel sheet to a wiki with some definition and so on. And then in 2016 or 17, my friend Jean-Pierre Le Sueur from France joined the project, and we started to rebuild the website and create a full database with different classification and so on. And we added new features, new description. So right now you have some information about an evasion techniques, and you will find also some code snippet, detection rule, and so on. I can actually share my screen and present some of the project a bit deeper.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yes.
And from the sounds of it, it will be immensely beneficial for two, at least in my opinion, two main personas. The first one is someone who's trying to get into threat intelligence and learning what it is. The second one is a practitioner, right? If someone's already like you, working with different APTs and doing threat intelligence or even doing incident response and doing malware analysis, this would be super helpful. So maybe from those two lenses, you can walk through the platform and see how it can benefit them.
Sure, and there is also an additional persona, which is red team as well, because we tend to propose the information about the techniques and code snippet as well as for detection. So red team is a perfect exercise to verify that the detection is in place as well. So yeah, it could be for malware analyst, SOC analyst as well, threat researcher, and red teamer as well. Okay, so this is the first, the index page of the Unprotect project, where you have basically here a field where you can look for a specific technique. You can also click on I'm feeling lucky if you, for example, if you want to make a challenge, like every day you want to learn an evasion techniques, you can click on it and every day learn about a new evasion techniques. So we added recently, actually last year, the dashboard to get some statistics about the content of the database. So at the moment, we have 332 techniques into the database, 189 code snippets, 130 detection rules, which include Kappa rules, Yara rules, and Sigma rules. And we have currently 23 contributors to the database. You can see the latest addition into the database here, the latest code snippet, and the latest detection rules. So let's go to the map. Here you have the role classification, where you can see that the techniques are classified by different categories, such as anti-debugging, anti-disassembling, and so on. We recently added this one. It's still a work in progress. So at the moment, there is nothing there. But basically, we are trying to classify the evasion mechanism against machine learning, artificial intelligence model, and so on. So you will find more details in that section in the coming months. But basically, you have the whole classification here. We also reference the defense evasion MITRE because there is some overlap between these sections and some other techniques in other categories. But the idea is really to break through different categories, all the techniques. So let's take an example. If you go to anti-debugging, you will have a full list of the techniques that can be used by malwares to avoid debugging. So you can see here some of them, and which is interesting. So we have a unique ID for each of them, which started by you, like Unprotect, and we have started to incorporate the MBC, the Malware Behavior Catalog ID from the MITRE, which is a collaboration that we have with the MITRE currently. So you can also look for a specific MBC ID into the database. If the techniques have a code snippet, it will be available here, and if there is a rule as well, you can see here as well here. So let's take the first example. If we click on Suspense Thread, you will have here a description about the specific techniques, the technique ID, when the one is the Unprotect, the one is from the MBC catalog. And you will have also some tags, and every tags are clickable, meaning if you click on one of them, you will see related techniques with the similar tags. Then you will have a code snippet. When it's available, it's not always available, but we are trying to improve that every time. And in some cases, you will have a code snippet in multiple languages, such as here in Delphi and C++. And you can download the code snippet if you want. And finally, you will have detection rules. So in some cases, you will have only the Yara rules, but sometimes you will have the Kappa rules, Sigma rules, and so on. And finally, you will also have additional resources about these specific techniques if you want to learn more about it and just get more information and have a better understanding and so on. So basically, in a single place, you can have for a specific technique descriptions, some code snippet, and some detection rules. So let's take, for example, I want to show you another. Let's click on I'm feeling lucky, for example. So unfortunately, in this one, for example, there is no code snippet, no detection rules. As I said, it's still a work in progress, so we are trying to fill in the gap. But basically, let's take this one as an example. Process. So kill process is basically a technique used by a sample for example, identifying a specific process relating to monitoring and or antivirus or anything that could detect or analyze the samples and basically kill this specific process to avoid analysis and so on. So here we have for this example, we have the technique and so on. We have the code snippet that can be reused. And as I said, in some cases, you have the Yara, Sigma, and Kappa rules that you can reuse. So imagine now you are a security researcher, a malware analyst, and you want to understand a specific techniques. You can go there, look for a keyword, like, I don't know, it could be an API or it could be a specific technique, such as, for example, kill process, and you want to learn more about it. You can only search for a specific keyword and see if there is a match. Or you can also look for a specific technique names, like, for example, imagine you want a process manipulation technique such as doppelganging, which is very specific. You can look for doppelganging into the database, and you will find techniques that are referencing this specific process injection mechanism. So if you go there, you will have more details. There is a breakthrough about the technique itself. There is as well a code snippet here and additional resources and so on. So imagine you want to, for example, use it for threat research and so on. You can just get more information about the technique itself. You can also retrieve the specific Yara rules or Sigma rules and use it on a malware database for hunting the specific technique or even for detection mechanism as well. If you are a red teamer, you can go there, learn more about the technique, extract the code source, and reuse the code source for your own goal and for your own security exercises. And if you are just an antivirus engineer and you want to detect, to check if this technique is covered by the security solution, you can also take the code source and reuse it, just create a proof of concept and try to detect like that. Recently, we added some additional features, such as the feature evasion API list. So basically here, what we are trying to do is referencing the Windows API that can be used for some evasion techniques. So you can find, it's still a work in progress as well, but basically we are documenting every API that you can find in the database. If you click on it, you will get more information about the technique itself. We are working on a classification model for the criticity of this specific Win API. And you can also find the technique that are referencing this specific API. So if you go there, you get more information as well, a code snippet, and so on. So it's still a work in progress, but basically we want to provide an additional feature so everyone that have a question about a specific API can see if it's related to a specific malware evasion technique. We also added a new sections, which is downloads. So in that page, we will feature tools that can be related to Unprotect, or the tools that we are developing. So this one is one of the first one that my friends developed. It's a tool used for analyzing a DLL and especially the export sections. And then we will try to feature the tools that we developed and some of the proof of concept that we are currently working on in these pages. So everyone that go to the website can download additional stuff, program that they want to use for malware analysis or everything. In the About page, you can get more information about the project itself. You can see the contributor as well. We recently added actually a page for every contributor. So if you click on one of them, you can see all the contribution. So, which is pretty cool because for every contributor in the database, you will have a dedicated page that you can showcase on your social network, LinkedIn profile, or anywhere, your contribution to the Unprotect project. Another thing which is really amazing, we started to see that the Unprotect project is currently adopting by some of open source projects such as Matterbot, which is a Slack bot that grab from the API some information from the database. The MBC catalog as well, which is our collaboration with the MITRE MBC project. And there is also Cape Sandbox, which is a malware sandbox, which are currently using the Unprotect ID to reference some of the technique on a specific piece of malware, which is amazing. So yeah, basically, all the project that will features Unprotect will be referencing in that page as well. So that way we can, showcase how the project is using as well. And yeah, last but not the least, we also have the API. The API is currently free. You can request as much as you want the API. And for example, there is some interesting use cases that you can do through it. I'm currently working on a Python library to automatically request the API and, just to be more easy to request information. But basically, you can create a workflow where you analyze a piece of malware, grab information from the Unprotect database, and for example, you can automatically grab the Yara rules or the Sigma rules and run it through Python, directly in the Jupyter notebooks or in your workflow. So it's still interesting, and people that are actually using the Unprotect project in their project are basically using the API. So the API is completely free, so everyone can access it. And as soon as we will have the unlike Twitter, yeah. And as soon as we will have the Python package, it will be probably more easier for the community to use the API. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm not sure if you have more specific question about the project.
No, wow, that was definitely very impressive. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
No, it's pretty awesome. Like evasion techniques are getting more and more popular. And different threat actors use them differently. I think the most recent one I kind of remember reading up was on Emotet when it returned, and its related evasion techniques. I think for any learners trying to start off with, this is a great resource. You can start off with some easier techniques like obfuscation and then go into more in-depth techniques such as process injection and so on. But yeah, again, I would say it's just a fantastic resource available for everyone to use. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, what we want to build with this project is basically like the first place to learn more about evasion mechanism. And for example, like we are very agile with this project. Like every time there is a new technique or a new piece of research or a new reference, we are trying to incorporate it into the database. Like if we take as an example, for example, a process doppelganging, I think it was released in Black Hat Europe in 2017, and it was in December, and I think like three to 6 months later, the Synac ransomware were using actually this specific technique. So it's kind of interesting to see that the threat actors are also looking for the research paper and see the latest publication and incorporate them into their malicious sample. So what we want to do with that is being in front of that, like meaning we put that information into the database, and then when there is a sample that are using the technique, it's already into the database, so the malware analyst can get more information about it. And rather than trying to look for the web and looking for the specific technique and so on. So yeah, the goal is really to provide a full classification of it, and we still have more work to do because obviously it's very difficult to classify everything and to have a comprehensive database, and that's why some of the technique doesn't have a code snippet or a detection rules. It's just because as it's a side project, we can't work on it full time. So I'm dedicating my free time on it, like during the weekend or during the night or when I have some free time. But yeah, it's still a work in progress and constant improvement of the project. And then we are also working on additional features. So we want to propose an interface where you can send a piece of samples and get information about the technique that are used by these specific samples. And so the goal of that is to have information about potential malware using a specific technique. And then as soon as we will have this portal ready, when you go to a specific technique, you will also have a selection of samples or real malware samples that are using the specific technique that have been flagged. So the goal is also really to provide the full documentation, classification, and understanding about malware evasion techniques. There is one thing I didn't talk. It's a community-centric project. So as you can see, there is multiple contributors. But if you also want to contribute, there is a GitHub page where there is actually a full documentation about how to contribute to the project. And you just have to make a pull request, and then we will verify the submission and accept it or not, and push it to the database.
Awesome.
No, yeah, I can totally understand that. To build this treasure trove of information, how much time and effort that is required, especially with something like TTPs, there's always new ones coming. It's very hard to keep on top of it all by yourself. So that's where the community comes in. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to have this on our show, because it's one of the things community should really get involved on.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very constant work, to be honest. But honestly, the people that already contributed to the project are really amazing, because they help us to improve the database, adding more techniques, more code snippet, more detection rules. So yeah.
Fantastic. Let's see how we're going with time.
I was just going to mention, Thomas, like an area that I thought would be really helpful from a SOC/detection perspective is like samples for techniques. So like we can then go run that in a VM or some kind of sandbox and basically see like what kind of alerts would that generate or what kind of logs are coming in, and then build further detections on that.
Yeah, that's the goal, actually, to have this kind of... actually, it's also a feature that many of the people ask us, like to have a list of samples that are using the specific technique that you are looking for. So yeah, we've been working on it, but yeah, and also with that, it's a bit complicated, because as you start to store malware sample, your website can be categorized as malicious, and so we have to think about the best solution for that.
Yeah, might be have to some links to Malware Bazaar, I guess. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The other option I was looking at is there's this thing on micro emulations where you can emulate parts of an attack. It's based on Mitre Edge Unity framework, so they have a few samples on that, and that's something like we're trying to work on. Like instead of going like a full emulation, you can go for a micro emulation. So you don't want to do a full emulation, so like don't do like Red Canary and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely.
Alrighty, Thomas, thank you so much for sharing that all about the Unprotect Project. It was definitely very enlightening, and I can't wait myself to actually play around with it. I was the other day learning about code caves from here, and that was pretty fascinating. So as we wrap up, Thomas, I know there's some more exciting projects coming from you. Do you want to quickly talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, apart from some of the features that we are currently working on the Unprotect project, I'm releasing a book, which will be thanks, which will be ready very soon. So this book is like nothing that you used to see in computer science book. It's something, I think it's a kind of an ovni. Not an ovni, that's not the word in English, sorry, like it's kind of something very different that one we used to,
it's a novel thing. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, I wanted to bring something very new to the table and something really easy to read and to learn from. So it's a concept where there is infographics, diagrams with text. So you can learn about the specific techniques with the text and a specific concept or specific threat intelligence concept or tools also. It can be a tool. and you can have the diagrams that will put in perspective what you just learned. So the book can be used as a reference guide as well. Like imagine you are working on a threat intelligence case and so on, and you are using a specific tool such as Yara, but you don't remember all the features of Yara. You can go to the book, read the page of Yara, and see, oh, okay, I can use this specific features, this specific options, and so on. So the goal is really to provide something easy to digest, and to learn from. And so it can be used for either newcomer into the threat intelligence field, or either by experienced professionals as a reference guide. So I really hope the community will love it, because it's really something different. So I don't really know how people will react with it, but yeah, hopefully it will be welcomed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will, mate, because if someone follows you on Twitter, they already know how engaging you make your posts on. It's like when I look at that visual diagrams, it feels like I'm reading a cybersecurity comic rather than just, something more technical. So I think the differentiating factor of this book, if it's anything like your other visuals, is it's going to be very easy to digest. Unlike
exactly
very technical and very hard components that will be broken down into very visual structure, and it will give a lot of perspective to the audience. So definitely looking for it. So with that, sorry, Thomas, do you have anything else to add?
No, I just wanted to say that, I think in some cases there is some technical concepts that are really hard to understand. And I think putting everything into something really
visual,
graphic or visual, it's more easy to understand. And I used to make graphic in my incident response reports for customers, because it was super easy for the management and everything to understand in one shot what the malware was doing in their network. So the goal from across the times, I started to build more and more this kind of graphic for just helping the people understand better what is going on in a single view, rather than looking for a wallpaper or diving into some jargon.
10,000 words or something.
Exactly. So in a single view, you have a full understanding of what is going on, and for a specific attack, for example, on what is going on, and it's more easy to digest, definitely.
Awesome. Looking forward to that as always. As we draw a curtain on this episode, Surya, do you have anything last to add?
No, I just want to really thank Thomas for joining us on the session and providing us his valuable insights. It was awesome meeting him for the first time, even though we've just passed by multiple times. And yeah, I would recommend, even if you're a seasoned professional or a newcomer into security and just looking to understand a bit on how malware evasion technique works, the Unprotect Project is a great resource to start off of.
Well, thanks everyone, and thank you to our audience for joining today. We hope you found that useful, and we can't wait to see you in the next one. Thanks everyone.
Thank you guys. Bye.